What's up, you guys? We're back for another college football week. I'm Katelyn Heffler, and these are my co-hosts, Alex and Jason. And we're back here with Beat the Odds College Football Edition on Odds Checker. Guys, how are we? How are our picks last week?
Doing okay. Had a 3-3 week last week, which was worse than the week before when I was 6-1. I'm doing well though. I'm 24-16 in these videos on the season. I actually got another pick of the week correct last week, so I think that corrects a 4-game losing streak. I'm now back on a 2-game winning streak in those. So I guess you can trust me a little more with my locks, so-called locks, than I was before. We'll take it. Caitlin, sorry about Alabama. This shirt is not at all intended as a taunt.
You know what? Yeah, it was rough seeing that first thing in the morning, but it's okay. I mean, we'll get to that later. We have a lot to talk about.
I'm still above 500 on the year. We're at 22-20-1 after a 500 week. Memphis deserved to cover against Tulsa, frankly. So pick of the week was squandered there for me. But I am going to go ahead and claim cashing UNC's win total under for the year with 2 months still to go. So that is already in the bag. But all in all, we're at least over 500 here.
Well done.
Yeah, doing well. Well, let's get started with this week's picks. And then, as always, stay tuned to the end of this video for our picks of the week.
Sure. Yeah, I'll get us going. And Jason, I can kick it over to you. I'm going to start with a weeknight game, App State and Louisiana. I am taking App -3 in this game. I think the spread here should be a lot bigger. I am convinced that if it weren't for a couple of App State running back injuries recently, most importantly to Nate Knoll, who is their top ball carrier, that this would be a bigger spread. I don't think that one running back being hurt is going to cost App State, the 5 to 6 points in this game, where I think the spread actually should be. I think they should be favored by more than a touchdown. They have another good running back on the roster in Cam Peoples. The passing game with Chase Bryce has sort of been where the bread is buttered for them anywhere this year. And by a different token, this is just like not the same Louisiana team that everyone thought was going to be really good coming into this year. I don't think it's the same squad as last year, which is weird because it's mostly the same roster and it's the same head coach.
I'm going to stick with that weeknight energy, albeit not on a weeknight game. Give me Eastern Michigan +3 against Ball State. The best unit in this game is probably EMU's offense. There are some quality power ratings that have EMU just winning this outright. I sort of think Ball State might be inflated a bit after a big win over Western Michigan last week, in which Ball State recovered, if my math is correct, 5 of the game's 6 fumbles. So it could be a decent time to fade Ball State.
I like that rationale. 2 weeks in a row, I have bet on Syracuse to cover in what became a loss for Syracuse. I have succeeded 2 weeks in a row. I have no reason not to stay with the hot hand. Clemson against Cuse, I'm taking the orange +13.5 in that game. I have successfully picked, as I said, several kind of disappointing Syracuse covers on the basis that they get some sacks. Their defense is a lot better than it's been, even though they gave up 40 in an overtime game to Wake Forest last week. They get some pressure. DJ Uiagalelei for Clemson has been miserable against pressure. He's been pretty bad in all circumstances this year, to be honest, but especially when he's been pressured. So I'm comfortable with the notion of a cover for Syracuse getting, more than 13 points.
Q's 5-1 against the spread this year. You gotta like that.
We love to see it.
Let me stick in the ACC. I'm gonna take Miami +7. Coming off a bye, time to sort of reassemble, get their heads together after the loss of D.R. King for the season. Tyler Van Dyke has looked fine in his limited time. And it's not like UNC's defense is terrifying. While Miami was on a bye, UNC was busy losing to a really bad FSU, as Mac Brown blamed AP voters for overrating UNC in the first place. So I don't really think UNC is in a great mindset spot right now.
Mac Brown knows how to play the game better than anybody who has ever played the college football politicking game. Marshall in North Texas, I believe this is also a weeknighter. Marshall -10.5 for me in this game. Really, really, really bad North Texas team here. I think Seth Luttrell is fixing to get fired. The last couple of years, their problem was that they couldn't play defense. They still can't really play defense, but they have also lost what was a pretty good offense, even when they couldn't stop anybody. They've played 2 quarterbacks this year, Jace Ruder and Austin Ane, and neither of them has been the answer. Ane's been a lot worse than he was a year ago. Their best player last year was this little receiver, Jalen Darden, who's fast as hell. He's in the NFL now. I don't think they found a good way to replace him. And I think they should lose this game by 2 touchdowns or more. I think Marshall might be a bit undervalued because they've lost some close games and, maybe weren't quite as turnkey as Charles Huff, their first-year coach, would have preferred. I do think they're a lot better than North Texas. I think they win this game comfortably.
I'm going to keep trying to find coincidental connections to yours. We're going to stay in the state of Texas. Give me Troy -5 against Texas State. I have no idea how Troy didn't cover last week, but faith is the evidence of things unseen, such as Troy covering. Their defense is still pretty good. Texas State is still really bad, despite the overtime win against South Alabama, which also upset me personally. So this one is just doubling down all over the place.
Reasonable. Troy gets a ton of sacks. They're extremely good at putting quarterbacks on the ground, so I vibe with that pick. Florida and LSU, a game that is always full of immense dislike on both sides. I'm with Florida here, -10. LSU can't tackle. That's a problem when you're playing a team that has some of the playmakers Florida has. I think you need to be able to tackle. LSU really, really bad at it. Ed Orgeron is getting fired. I don't know when, but soon. I think Florida knows that. I think LSU knows that. LSU's quarterback is really bad. I don't see this going well for the Tigers.
Did you see that when that line dropped in Vegas, it was Florida by 4?
That's not enough. I wish I was there early.
I was just raring to pounce, but by the time they hit the internet, it was 10 points, which is still decent.
We put in our picks too late sometimes. I mean, sometimes we get that closing line value, but to really be on it, you got to be there to pounce when Florida is just -4 against LSU because they're going to cover that in the first 2 minutes of the game.
Yeah, Sunday picks are nice, but Sunday picks in Vegas, you can find some fat stuff. Give me Baylor -4.5 against BYU. Baylor's pretty good; should probably be ranked. At home, their defense is probably by far the best unit in this game. BYU's offense is steady, but doesn't usually light the scoreboard up, and that could be magnified here. Could be a pretty low scoring, but yet comfortable win for Baylor.
Yeah, I have Kentucky and Georgia here going over 44.5, going back to the SEC for me. The thing is, and I don't like picking an over against Georgia's defense, which might be the best defense like in college football history right now. But Georgia's offense could get 45 points. Georgia's offense is pretty good. Stetson Bennett has been rounding into form a bit. I think they're going to score plenty in this game. And I do think Kentucky might have the best offense that Georgia has seen. Could Kentucky maybe get to 14, which would be a season high in points allowed by Georgia? Yeah, I could see that. And if they do that, all we need is 31 from Georgia to go ahead and get us to the over. So I know I'm tempting fate here going over within a game that involves Georgia's defense, but also they could get 3 pick sixes and those count as points too. So we're going over.
Or Georgia could score 45 points.
Easy.
Give me Farmageddon. Give me Iowa State -4. I'm kind of confused by this spread. 3 of the power ratings I trust most, SP+, FPI, and Pirate have it as more than a touchdown.
Are you not going to tell people what Farmageddon is?
Farmageddon, Iowa State, Kansas State.
There we go.
Did I not mention which team I'm taking Iowa State against? Anyway.
You did not mention that. You just assume that everyone knows what Farmageddon is, which, I do, obviously.
If you see Iowa State -4, that's a fine number, regardless of who the opponent is. That's not true. It seems Vegas is kind of overreacting to whether K-State quarterback Skylar Thompson is in the lineup or not. A few weeks ago, they had K-State as a home underdog against Nevada because of Skylar Thompson's status. And this week, it seems like they are giving K-State too many points because he's back. That's my only estimation for what's going on here. Should be a decent matchup, though. K-State's game is, as it's been for decades, steady ground games, and Iowa State's focus is stopping that. I just think Iowa State is better at that.
I have Pitt against Virginia Tech here at Pitt -4. This one's moved. I think you have it at a better number than me, but I have it at a better number than some. I think it's now around -6 at most places. I got it at 4. I think it's still advisable at 6 because I think Virginia Tech is terrible. Virginia Tech's front got absolutely bossed around by one of the worst offensive lines in the country right now in Notre Dame last weekend, which is also quite a thing to say about Notre Dame. I think that if Virginia Tech is the get-right game for a team like Notre Dame that has really, really struggled on offense, they are going to have a hard time with a Pitt offense that is shockingly good. I also think that Virginia Tech might give up a bunch of sacks in this game. I think it's a bad recipe for them, and I think Pitt's going to roll.
Here's the big number of the week for me. Give me Hawaii +16. Hawaii is not awful, just bad. coming off a win over Fresno and a bye. We like these things. And I think Nevada's 4-1 record might be a bit inflated. Their wins have come against two terrible teams and two possibly suspicious wins over decent teams. If you take a close look at the box score, history shows it is fair to give Hawaii road trips a little extra home field advantage, but I don't think quite as much as we think. I think 12 might be a fair line here. 16, I'll take it. I think Hawaii has enough offense to make that up.
Fair enough.
Is it pick of the week time?
Yeah,
it might be pick of the week time.
Let's get into it. So it's been a few weeks since I've, rolled with the tide, bet on Alabama, and I just feel like now I just have to come back and,
Why? Did something happen this weekend?
Yeah, we had kind of a rough game. Don't know if you've heard, but yeah, lost to Texas A&M, quite embarrassing. There's nothing really Alabama just played bad. I don't care what Alabama fans say. I see so many excuses on Twitter like, oh, it's just a lot. No, they wet the bed. They played terrible. But, Alex, you brought up a lot of good things on Twitter. Do you have anything to add?
Well, will be all the teams that have to play Alabama the rest of the year until Georgia. Nick is not going to be a happy camper. And I anticipate that Alabama will attempt to win every game they play until they see Georgia. And also they'll attempt to do this to Georgia. They're going to win a lot of games by a lot of points because I think they're very upset. And I think that Nick understands the game that, if they lose another game, he's going to want to be politicking to try to get into that field of four at the end of the year. And I think you do that by crushing teams. So without even knowing anything about who their schedule is the rest of the year, yeah, I'd be fine picking Bama to cover every week. It makes sense. Just tell me the number.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That's going to be utter destruction and murder ball next week and every week after if they just, get their game together. And obviously Saban is not thrilled about this loss. The only thing I'm going to say to end on a positive note for any Alabama people that do, watch this, don't come after me, but 4 of Bama's 6 titles under Saban, they've won with 1 loss in the season. So I'm going to end with that positive note. Maybe that'll be good for us, but I'm taking Alabama minus 17 this week.
Makes sense. Not every year is going to be 09 or 20. I think that makes a ton of sense. I'm in the Big Ten West here. So obviously I'm kind of getting down, rolling in the muck. I invite you both to join me there if you'd like. Nebraska minus 2.5 against Minnesota in what could just be a disgusting, gruesome affair. Minnesota lost to Bowling Green at home convincingly. Bowling Green just got thumped at home by Akron convincingly. I understand that the transitive property can lead you to some wild places. What I'm saying is Minnesota is bad. I think Nebraska is also kind of bad, but bad in a more, how should I say, competitive way. I don't know where Minnesota is going to find points in this game, and I think Nebraska is going to win by well more than a field goal. So I'm on the Huskers minus 2.5.
I like it. One of my mantras for the season has become Nebraska is pretty good. And also I thought about Mississippi State plus 17.5. Thought a lot about it. A lot of computers have it more like 9, but Katelyn and Alex, I think you're right. I think Nick Saban anger is worth at least 10 points of value in my head. So it would need to be more in the 20s for me to really pull the trigger there. My other mantra for the year is Pitt's going to win the ACC. So pick of the week, give me Pitt minus 3.5 against Virginia Tech. This line is all over the place. It's bouncing all over the place. So shop carefully. I view the superpower Pitt offense also coming off a bye. I just don't think Virginia Tech has the explosiveness to hang with Kenny Pickett. None of these sentences make sense, but they're all real. And he might not even need explosions. Might be able to dink and dunk on this defense all day long. So yeah, not scared of Inner Sandman, not scared of Blacksburg. The consistent, steady Pitt offense is here to win the day.
2021, what a year! What a year!
What a year! And on that note, that's all that we have for this week. And we will catch you guys next week with another college football video, Beat the Odds College Football Edition on Odds Checker.